Let's get some analysis. Robert Maginnis is a senior Pentagon strategist and the author of 8 books on national security and foreign policy. He joins us now live from Woodbridge in Virginia. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Good to have you back. All right, so the U.S. is warning Ukraine this time that there will be a full-scale invasion within 48 hours, and 80% of the 190,000 Russian troops are ready to go. The Ukrainian President Zelensky, as we just played out, puts this number slightly higher at 200,000. Do you expect a full-scale invasion?
Well, it is hard to discern exactly what Vladimir Putin is thinking. All the indications are that, we've seen cyber attacks, we've seen, certainly psychological manipulation of the population, going after their ATM accounts, communicating with soldiers, movement of units, not only into Luhansk and Donetsk, the two breakaway provinces, but we've seen the collection and tactical assembly areas of large numbers of armored vehicles. What we haven't seen as yet is an attack on the electric grid. I would expect that before they go in, they'd like to shut that down, and they can do that through a variety of mechanisms. So there are still yet some things to happen before tanks roll into downtown Kiev. They're going to likely have bombed the airports, have destroyed the air defense artillery that the Ukrainians have, and of course any other strategic command and control facilities that have been identified by the Russians. If they do that, we'll have some warning, but it won't be very long.
Okay, so some of the measures that you just mentioned could be spread across the entire country. Since you mentioned the self-proclaimed republics of Luhansk and Donetsk, let me ask you them. The leaders there, the pro-Russian leaders of these separatist breakaway states, according to the Kremlin, have asked President Putin for help in terms of repelling aggressions from the Ukrainians. But the troops that President Putin authorized to go in are being described as peacekeepers by them. I mean, could this be the reason that President Putin could use as justification that an independent state is asking for our military help? That's why we're going in.
Yeah, well, that's all part of the original plan, it would appear to be, that was put together by Mr. Putin and his advisors months ago. What we have, of course, Luhansk and Donetsk, they want to expand their borders. And so these so-called peacekeepers will likely join with the separatists and push back against Ukraine proper and just expand, you could call it a beachhead. I've seen reports that near Kharkiv, right outside the city limits, which is right on the border, and a very historic, important place for the Russians, it would appear as if they're ready to go in there as well. So they're going to squeeze as much out of this as they can without any more provocation, but it's not clear that Putin has decided, in spite of what Mr. Biden and others are saying, that he's definitely going to go in. But, anything's in the air at this point.
You're giving very detailed military possibilities. I understand that. But if an invasion happens, whatever form, I mean, the U.S. has said on numerous occasions that they will not intervene militarily. So Putin could take as much land as he wants, and the West will basically not react militarily, just impose sanctions.
Well, that does appear to be based upon the rhetoric we're getting from Washington, that there will be no effort to pursue into Ukraine. However, as you know, the U.S. has sent forces to bolster Poland, Hungary, Romania, and the Baltics. And of course, those forces, I'm no doubt, are in a fairly high level of alert. Now, the question is whether or not Mr. Putin is going to be satisfied with the current chunk of Ukraine that he has, or the entire Ukraine, knowing full well, perhaps, that he's not going to get any pushback from outside forces to engage with his own. Now, the problem is the stakes are made. Airplanes like the ones over the eastern part of Ukraine today, were over Ukrainian airspace. They could have been shot down. Airplanes that are perhaps from Russia that are flying too close to the Polish border could go into Poland, and Poland could rightly, under international law, engage those aircraft, believing they were hostile. So the opportunity for mistakes here is very, very serious. And it could be in the sea. You have the Black Sea, you have a lot of types of submarines and cruisers and amphibious vehicles that belong to the Russians. There are U.S. forces out there as well. There could be an incursion there. We've had near misses in the air already. So these are very dangerous times. We have to be very careful as we proceed ahead.
Colonel Maginnis, always a pleasure having you on the show. Do appreciate the analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.